Okay, it's March 9th. We are going in on the MMA, kind of going over the UFC 196, seeing how all that all played out, how we had the predictions of the fights going. Pretty much I covered the and the main event on this fight card 196 UFC, and yeah, I was wrong but right. And I'll get into more how I was kind of right. It's obvious how I was wrong. I picked the wrong winners. I thought Conor McGregor was gonna pull it out, and especially I thought he was gonna pull it out against Nate Diaz. I did not think he was gonna pull it out against Rafael dos Anjos. I did not think he was gonna win that one, but of course that fight got canceled, so they moved on to Nate Diaz. But then again, I thought Holly Holm was gonna win also. But we'll get into that and we'll go over that to see, what I was kind of right about, what I was wrong about, and then we'll talk about what's going on with that whole thing. Like since both of them lost, where they're at, what they're gonna do, what you guys think they're gonna do. Okay, first we'll go into the main event. Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz. I think this is kind of a big shocker for everybody that Nate Diaz won, because Nate Diaz was the underdog on this one. And then I kind of reassessed it right before the fight. I was telling my buddy Eugene Jackson about this fight right before. I said, Nate Diaz is the underdog on this, but honestly, he shouldn't be the underdog, because the fight's at 170. Conor McGregor was coming up from 145, where the guys are really small compared to him. So he had a big weight advantage, or a big size advantage more so, at the 145. 170 pound, he was giving that up. If you look at it, Nate Diaz looked really big compared to him. But the thing about it is, we forget that Nate Diaz is actually a better fighter at 170 than at 155. I think at 155, Nate Diaz, he has to struggle a lot to get there, and it takes a lot of the fight out of him. I think he's way better at 170. I've actually said this for a little while. I never really had to cover Nate Diaz yet on my podcast. But, yeah, I definitely think he's better at 170. I did have it right where I thought Conor McGregor was going to punish Nate Diaz with speed and everything like that, and just striking. But what actually happened was Conor McGregor kind of got a little cocky. He started using energy in the wrong way. Unnecessary energy he was using, gassed out, probably not used to holding that weight, and then he got clipped. I think he was a little gassed, but he got clipped. And that weight difference is a big weight difference when you get hit, and it took its toll. And then Conor McGregor went to a desperation takedown move, which obviously he's not a ground guy, and then that was pretty much the end of it for him there. And truthfully, I think he tapped out a little early. Yeah, for sure, he was going to get choked out. But maybe it just seems a little early because of the fight that happened before. And the showing that Holly Holm gave when she got put in that pretty much the same move, actually. So I kind of want to talk about, before I go into the co-main event and everything, where those two are going to go from here. Where, Conor McGregor is going to go, and then where Nate Diaz is going to go. Okay, we'll start off with the winner, Nate Diaz. Good showing, but truthfully, I mean, for me personally, what does that win do for his career? It got him a lot of money, which hey, is great. I mean, the guy's been fighting for a while. he's never had a paycheck like that. I don't think too many people in the UFC's had a paycheck like that. So honestly, that's great. But as far as future wise in his career, should he be like fighting the champion? Should he be fighting the champion at 170 now? I don't think that classifies a reason for him to fight Lawler, but that is on the table now. Especially because he's the big talk right now because somebody beat Conor McGregor, but look at the situation it was in. I mean, the guy went up 2 weight divisions. Okay, so it's if you're really a big MMA fan, or a fight fan, you understand that shouldn't justify him getting a title shot. But I would love to see that title shot because both of those guys are grinders. Nate Diaz, hell of a chin, hell of a warrior spirit, hell of a warrior's heart. And we know that of Robbie Lawler too. So it'd be a hell of a fight. Personally, me, I will write a blog on that one once that fight is actually made. But I will tell you right now, I have Lawler winning that fight. I just think that Nate Diaz is willing to take too much damage, and he can't take that type damage from Lawler. If he took that type damage from Lawler, I think it would be a good night for him. But hey, I could be wrong again. Okay, yeah. I mean, either way, you still gotta love a Nate Diaz fight. Him and his brother Nick, they bring it. They bring it. You know, I mean, there's nothing you could ever say. Yeah, I might not really like the guy that much. I might not like any of those guys that much. But at the end of the day, they bring it, so you got to respect them for that. Where does Conor McGregor go from here? Does he go and try to still fight Dos Anjos? I don't think so. I think he felt some power, and he realized, hey, there's some serious power. I can't deal with this type of stuff. And here's the thing. Dos Anjos, I think, would have been a worse fight for him because Dos Anjos is a lot faster than Nate, and he still has some power, and he's just very versatile. I truthfully think that Conor McGregor kind of realized, like, hey, I should stay at this 145 where I'm a lot bigger than the guys. I could still make that weight and just make my money off of that. I still have the belt there, so I should leave that alone. Mess around with these 155 or 170 pound guys. And yeah, definitely. I know Dos Anjos tried to say something about he wanted to fight Lawler. I don't think that's a smart move either. I think he's just staying in his respective weight class because he's not that tall of a guy for 155. So I think he's just staying 155. But back to Conor McGregor, I believe that he should stay at 145 and he should really work that division. There's guys in that division that he needs to fight anyways. Maybe give Chad Mendes a real training camp instead of just that 10-day training camp, and he still had a little bit of problems with them. Maybe, he should fight Frankie Edgar. Maybe he should go ahead and give Aldo his rematch. Which Jose Aldo deserves a rematch. He was champion for a long time. Yeah, he got caught and everything, but that doesn't negate the fact that he deserves a rematch. If all these other people are getting rematches, he deserves a rematch, okay? Weidman got a rematch. They wanted to give Ronda Rousey the automatic rematch. Let's see, John Jones is getting his rematch. Cain Velasquez was supposed to get his rematch, but he got hurt. Now they want to give Ronda Rousey the Miesha Tate rematch, and we'll get into that one just here in a minute when we talk about that whole crazy situation right now. So I think Jose Aldo deserves a rematch. I think it was smart for him not to take that 12-day rematch. I think that would have been the worst decision he could make. Okay, he's coming off a bad loss with the guy. Let him get a real training camp and get his head right and everything, and then he could go back at it. I think he definitely could go back at it at that point. Let's see here. Let's look at that co-main event. Oh, pretty interesting. I had Holly Holm winning. I did say, though, I said that this was going to be a harder fight for Holly Holm than the Ronda Rousey. The reason why, I think if Holly Holm was to fight Ronda Rousey, she beats her again. Not only because of Ronda Rousey's head is messed up by Holly Holm, and you could tell she never wanted to fight Holly Holm again because she was stalling about coming back, and doesn't seem like she's really stalling about coming back with Miesha Tate because she's beat her twice, and she figures I could beat her again and get my belt back. But she wasn't too quick to talk about fighting Holly Holm again. That's because she has some mental issues going on with that. Now, I want to get into that fight. Miesha Tate, Holly Holm. I said it was going to be a harder fight because in order to get a striker down on the ground, you have to have a shot. Okay, you have to have a single or a double to get a striker down, especially someone that has a heavy background in boxing. And Holly Holm has a heavy background in boxing. Yes, she has really good kicks, but she has a heavy background in boxing. It's boxing first, then kickboxing with her. So if you have a shot, you can get her down on the ground where you want her. Ronda Rousey doesn't have a shot. Have we ever seen her take a shot? No. She always does like a judo throw, hip toss, whatever the case be. But she doesn't have a shot. And that's why she had such a problem with Holly Holm. And that's why the fight wasn't that hard for Holly Holm. Believe it or not, strikers, Muay Thai boxers on the inside in the clinches, we're actually grappling a little bit and stuff like that, shifting weight and stuff like that. So she knows a lot about that. And Holly Holm is very, very strong. If you noticed her with Miesha Tate, when she was standing and they got close, and the way she would push Miesha Tate off, she's very strong. The best way to get her down is time her punches, go under her punches, and take her down with single or double. And that's what Miesha Tate has. And that's why I said she's more versatile than Ronda Rousey. That is to be able to get Holly Holm on the ground. Now, the fight didn't go as I thought it would. It didn't end as I thought it would. But it was a hell of a fight. And here's the thing. Miesha Tate showed how versatile she is, how much she's been working on her craft. I still think her striking is by far like not good. It needs some serious work. But she shows that she's versatile and she can do what she needs to do to win a fight. She's gotten better. Good enough to beat Ronda Rousey? I don't think so. And this is the point where styles makes fights. Okay. Ronda Rousey doesn't have a shot. She has to grapple with someone to get him on the ground. But she does have enough striking to be a better striker than Miesha Tate. So here's the deal. Miesha Tate has to try to get her to the ground. Can Miesha Tate dominate Ronda Rousey on the ground? Absolutely not. Ronda Rousey's better than her on the ground. So, styles make fights. Ronda Rousey doesn't have to get Miesha Tate to the ground. Miesha Tate's going to want to take it to the ground because she can't beat Ronda Rousey on the feet. But Holly Holm can beat Ronda Rousey on the feet. Ronda Rousey can't get Holly Holm on the ground. So this is like going to be a continuous circle, okay? Here's my deal with the whole thing. One of two things should happen. Either Holly Holm should get her automatic rematch with Miesha Tate. Why? Because it was a hell of a fight. Holly Holm didn't even tap. She just went out on her shield and just went out. Okay? You gotta give respect to that. Even though she lost, you gotta give respect to that. She was winning the fight. She got caught in submission. Done. Okay. Or it should be Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm fight each other to fight Miesha Tate. For Ronda Rousey to get the automatic fight with Miesha Tate, I think that shows politics in actually the UFC. I think it shows that Dana White wants Ronda Rousey with that belt. Here's the thing: Holly Holm can actually beat Miesha Tate. Okay, Ronda Rousey, of course, she can beat Miesha Tate. She beat her twice before, but Holly Holm could beat Miesha Tate too. All right, now you have 3-fight trilogy there, whatever. And I could see that if Ronda Rousey beats Miesha Tate, automatically they get the rematch between Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, and it's a title fight. It's a fight for the belt. Everybody's gonna watch that fight. It's gonna be crazy. So, but I think the UFC is playing a little bit of favorites, and they kind of want Ronda Rousey with that belt. Now, the thing that could go on for a year or two easily between these three women. And actually, this is like one of the best things that could actually happen for the division, because what it's showing is growth in the division. It's actually solidifying the women's 135-pound division, and it's making the belt move. They're having multiple people that held the belt, and it's just gonna go around in a circle. This belt. Here's my thing I'm gonna throw in there. What if Cyborg steps in and somehow gets in and gets to that weight? Then what? Who do you have her beating? Do you have her beating Ronda Rousey? Do you have her beating Miesha Tate? Do you have her beating Holly Holm? Do you have all of them beating her? What would you have of that fight? I find this kind of interesting. I know that recently there was a post saying that she was gonna go into the UFC. I mean, she's already under the Zuffa banner, and she's already in contract with them. She fights under them anyways, so it wouldn't be that hard of a transfer to put her in there. I think if she can make the 135 limit, it'd be amazing. Yeah, it would really be amazing. I think Holly Holm already said she'd fight her at 140. I believe Miesha Tate would too. Don't know about Ronda Rousey. She seemed pretty hard ass about it, not wanting to play around with that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, only time will tell. And like I said, those three women are gonna have to fight each other, and I believe it's just gonna keep going in a circle till one of them gets out or one of them really gets messed up. And it kind of seems like Ronda Rousey's messed up by Holly Holm, real bad. Like, so we'll see where that goes from there. You know, when you guys listen to this podcast and stuff, if you guys got any questions, you can always shoot me questions back on my blog, on my Facebook, on anything. You guys can always shoot me questions back, and I'll get back to them. Either I'll write it on the blog, or I will answer it in my next podcast. And if you really have a lot of questions, and I think you're making some really good points, I'll try to have you on my podcast, because I still need people on my podcast. I really do. Now I want to go into Bellator. Bellator announced their fight in May at the San Jose Arena, and that's really going to be a good fight. But besides that, I don't know. I don't really want to get in that card right now. It's really going to be a good card, though. That is really going to be a good card. I'll probably be live at that card, covering the fights. I'll be live at that card covering the fights. I might have an announcement about that with tickets and some other things. I don't want to get too heavy into that right now. Once I get a couple things cleared out about it, I will definitely make another podcast and blast out what I need to blast out. And I think you guys will find that kind of interesting, and maybe some offerings to get some seats to the fights or whatnot. But yeah, we'll talk about that. But the thing about Bellator I want to talk about is they're going into kickboxing. Now, on my podcast, on my blogs, I don't really cover kickboxing. I could go into FC, I could go into Glory, but I think Bellator and Scott Coker kind of saw an opening that kickboxing wasn't being done right. And if you know anything about Scott Coker, he was the owner of Strikeforce. Strikeforce started out with kickboxing, so he really knows kickboxing. That's something that he really, really knows, Muay Thai and kickboxing. I think he saw a hole there, like, hey, Glory's not doing this right. I did a show with them, and they're just not doing it right. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of space there to do this, and it's kind of exciting to me. I was talking to one of my buddies, Anthony Gooch, and I'm gonna have him on the show soon here. I just gotta schedule time for him. He's a really interesting guy. I don't want to get into like what he does and everything. I'll wait till he's on the show, so that way we can introduce him properly, and he can introduce himself, and he can introduce himself the way he wants to be introduced, and everything like that. But we were talking about this earlier today, and I told him, I really think it's a good idea. I really think it's a good thing. It gives them the opportunity to pull more people into their company and everything, and it gives the fighters more opportunity to fight, actually, because a lot of those guys can actually fight kickboxing, okay? And when they don't have a cage fight or MMA fight, they could go ahead and they could get one of those fights, and that's really cool. But what I was telling them is, I was like, I kind of miss the so to say, the things being revolutionized, like a new combat sport. Like, I could kind of remember when MMA was that new combat sport, even though it's still very new. I could kind of remember more so like when they're trying to make it legal in California, when they finally did make it legal in California, and everything like that. I remember when it even became more mainstream instead of it just being a tournament and stuff. I kind of miss that. I said, kind of like Pride. I'm not really all the way kosher with what Pride was doing, but just the excitement and the guys wanting to do something different. I kind of explained it as the BKB. You remember BKB, Big Knockout Boxing, and I knew a couple guys in that, and it was pretty exciting. Like, a lot of people were excited about it, and you could feel that startup feel. Like, I'm doing something people haven't done, even though it's still relevant. Even though it's still relevant to boxing, it might still be relevant to kickboxing or MMA, but just that feel of something new, and you have a big pusher behind it. It's not like some underground stuff. You got a big pusher behind it, like Viacom. That's who Bellator's parent company is, obviously, and they're really more worried about the markets and the marketing and all that like that, and how many people's watching and everything, more so than the fights itself. But with them, we could definitely like push something new, something that gives people that feeling again. I feel like we're kind of losing it with MMA a little bit, maybe because there's all these companies, and UFC's kind of watering it down with a lot of stuff that they're doing, and then you don't have the recognized names, and maybe Bellator and then that one show that they put on kind of tarnished it, because that was their biggest audience, which is cool. But when you have such a big audience like that, and you're not putting on quality, that's a problem. When you're not putting on quality, and you have your biggest audience, you want your biggest audience to be on a show that is of high quality. But I don't want to get into that. I want to talk more about the kickboxing that they're gonna venture into, and I know Scott Coker's gonna do this one right, and truthfully, I know Scott Coker's gonna do the rest of his shows right, and just like I said, the card in May is gonna be a phenomenal card, you know. I've looked at all their cards, and all their cards from here on out are going to be are phenomenal cards. The guys aren't known really, but hey, it's on free TV. You guys can get out there and watch it. If you don't like it, hey, you didn't pay anything, you didn't commit to it. And if you do like it, it's on free TV. It comes on very often on Spike, and you can watch it whenever. You can even watch it online if you really want to on Spike.com. And that's the exciting stuff that Bellator is doing. And you know, I know they're gonna dabble into some other things. I can't really get into what I've heard they're gonna dabble into, but they're definitely gonna dabble into some other things. And I mean, if you think about it, being Viacom and all that and this and that, you could kind of put it together. But I'm not gonna say what my speculation is, and kind of around the rumor mill and stuff like that. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna name anything specific. If you want to go ahead and ask me, you can ask me, and I might laugh, I might wink, I might whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna give my word to it. Besides that, you know, that's gonna be my segment for March 9th, 2016 on my MMA blog. On my MMA podcast. But if you guys have any comments, anything you want to say to me, anything you want to get back at me, hit me up on the blogs. You know, listen to the podcast. You know, get at me. Even you could write comments on my podcast or whatever, and I'll answer back to you. If you give me your contact information, I'll definitely call in and put you on the podcast itself. I do plan on getting out in public, reaching out to people. Check back on my website where I'm going to be at, so that way if you really want to talk to me live, and I can record it live, you know, and then I could put that in the podcast too. I should have that up in about a week or two about where I'm going to be at watching fights, boxing and MMA. So that way you guys can talk to me, record it. We can maybe place a bet on it. Gentleman's bet, you know, maybe a drink or whatever the case be, an appetizer, some food, or maybe even a whole meal, whatever the case. But besides that, you guys know what to do. Get at me on the blogs, get at me on my podcast, and this one is a wrap, baby. I am out.